through a discussion with a friend of mine, I said, look, I'm going to bring the software I have that I built, host it in Morocco in a data center, and provide the service locally. And then looks at me like, data center, we don't have any. I'm like, what do you mean? So I said, well, forget about the software idea. Build a data center.
Amine Kandil, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Very happy to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
You're the founder of N+ONE data centers. Very happy to have you on the podcast because we're talking a little bit about data centers, but data centers are very important. Without data centers, you don't have internet, you don't have websites, you don't have applications, and you don't have AI even today. So I'm very happy to have you. Today I want to understand what are data centers, how you built N+ONE, why is it important to have data centers in Morocco, in Africa, and in the region. So maybe we can start with that. Can you introduce yourself and explain what are data centers and why is it important?
Right. Well, data centers are, well, now everybody knows what it is. Back when I started, when I introduced myself to people, I just said that I am in software, or I am in technology,
yeah.
or
I mean IT.
Yeah, and sometimes people confuse it with other things. So a data center is simply a building that is designed to never fail and to provide the highest availability for the servers that are hosted in it. Right? So servers are basically the computers on which your data is going to sit. And you have to have them in a location that is secured, that is resilient, that has a certain level of uptime. The term we use is uptime, which is a measure of the availability of the data center. It sounds simple, but these are complicated buildings because they have to cool the servers. Servers generate a lot of heat, so we have to have redundant cooling, redundant power, redundant connectivity. So a lot of things go into it, and we operate on a 24/7 basis. We can never fail. We can never turn off our servers or our systems or the data center. So it's very technical. Lots of engineering goes into designing, building, and maintaining a data center.
So what's the goal of the data center? The output, is it storage? Is it we also hear about computations? What's the goal of this data center, and what does it enable us to do?
Okay.
As a person, or as a company, or as a startup?
Yeah. Well, look, I think a good way to explain it. Let's start with the value chain from the beginning. So as people are going to come in and listen to your podcast, which is available on multiple platforms. The end game is the podcast. Now, when someone clicks, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or whatever platform you're using, you want it to be available all the time and anywhere. So your podcast consists of data, photos, videos, audio, that have to be saved somewhere so that they can be served to the end customer to consume the content. The somewhere we're talking about is a data center. Okay. So it's everything you mentioned. It's storage, so disks on
data
which
storage.
Data storage. It's compute power, because you need a server to serve up the content. It's connectivity, internet connections that allow for the content to be served to the end customer. Right? But a data center is actually we refer to it as digital infrastructure. Think of it as the highway, and think of the data as the car, maybe, if it's a way to explain it, right? So the data center is, when we use the term data center, it doesn't involve any data yet, actually. A data center is a building, and it stops at the raised floor. There's nothing yet. Yeah. When we talk about data center as a service, okay? And then when you come in and install servers, storage, connectivity, and produce something, then we start talking about cloud, start talking about backup as a service, software as a service, etc., etc. Okay. I hope that explains it.
There are so many terms, and we'll come back to everything to really understand what are the components of the data center, what are the outputs, what is the cloud, and everything. But first, you started N+ONE in 2008. starting to build data centers in Morocco.
Yeah.
What led you to do that? What opportunity did you see? And what did you do before that led you to start data centers in Morocco?
Well, it was a pure coincidence. It started first. So I left Morocco a while back in 1995. I went to school abroad, finished, worked, and then in 2007, 2008, I felt an urge to come back. A combination of personal reasons, ambitions, a few different things, but mainly personal. So I was in Morocco in 2007, and I had an idea for a software that I could offer to the market, mainly the banking sector. My background is from a banking and tech sector in my previous life. So through a discussion with a friend of mine, I said, "Look, I'm going to bring the software I have that I built, host it in Morocco in a data center, and provide the service locally." And then looks at me like, "Data center? We don't have any." I'm like, "What do you mean? No data centers?" Well, no data centers in the sense of being provided as a service.
Yeah.
Right? So
companies have their own data centers for their own
internal use. Banks will have server rooms. Telcos have data centers for their own purposes.
No data centers for rent.
For rent, exactly. As what we call in our we call it colocation.
Colocation.
Yeah. Okay. Short colo. So no colo providers in Morocco. There's another thing that's important. We say neutral colo, in the sense that you're able to provide multiple telecom operators within the same facility, because that's key. Because you can have a data center. If you have one connection coming out and you're not able to have a diversity of telecom providers, network could fail. Now, everything you've done building the most resilient data center in the world can end up being disconnected and not
so
delivering
before
the service.
There were, not in Morocco, but worldwide, there were data centers that were either built by telecom operators or in partnership with one telecom operator. So it can fail because there are several connections.
Yeah, so customers tend to look for, we call carrier neutral data centers, because you have the ability to provide multiple telcos, but there's also a competitiveness aspect to it. In the old days, telecom costs were really high. So if you're in a facility where multiple telecom operators can compete for your business, you're going to have better pricing. So there's a few
pricing and redundancy to prevent failures.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, there's a whole other topic we can talk about, which is net neutrality, but let's leave that topic for later, because there's always been a big there's been tensions between what we call the eyeball providers, that's the telcos, people that have our attention, that bring the connectivity to us, and content providers. Okay.
What are the content providers?
Your Googles, your Spotify's, Meta, the content we consume. Right? It turns out the people that deliver the content make a lot more money than the people who deliver it.
Yeah. Mm.
So in the early days, it was a source of tension. A telco could favor the content of one over the other. That's where net neutrality comes in.
Interesting.
And where neutrality of colo was important.
So it was the question at the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're dealing with a lot of complex issues and a lot of history around how data centers came about.
You were interested by building a business in Morocco, but a software mainly.
Yeah.
And your friend told you there's no data center, but it was to build your software company.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted software that I can deliver as a service, SaaS. Yeah. So if you want to deliver software as SaaS, which is pretty much how we consume all software today, I needed a data center to host it. And it was important that it be hosted in Morocco. Why? Because we were going to deal with banking data. And for data sovereignty reasons, you don't want the data to leave the country. So it was important to have a data center in Morocco to serve that sovereignty issue. Back then, no one was talking about data sovereignty. Now it's a big topic. But we've been at the service of data sovereignty since it's the essence
it's very important.
Of what we do. So I said, well, forget about the software idea. Build a data center. And that's it. I went back to the US. I was in a fintech at the time. Things weren't going well. I saw that the company was gonna probably fail in the near term. But I was more driven by the desire to move back to Morocco. So that's it. Went back and started thinking of a name for the company, doing its website, decided to leave, started looking for land. So between 2008 and 2009, I was doing a lot of back and forth traveling globally. So I would go and visit, I would do all the shows about data centers, all the seminars, went to see vendors, a lot of learning about data centers. I knew what it was. I used data centers in my previous life as a customer, but I did not actually manage one or build one, right? So I needed to learn how to build a data center and what's involved and what are the different tier ratings. So we use the term tier, so tier 1, 2, 3, which is basically, I wouldn't say level of quality, but level of resilience. It's a measure of how resilient your design can be.
So let's imagine I want to build a data center. So tomorrow I want to start, I want to build a data center. I'm really interested to know what are the different components. We started talking about it, but you're in 2008, you need to build a data center.
Yeah.
What do you need? You need land because it's an infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then what are the basic components that you need in order to start?
You need land.
Okay.
You need power. You need connectivity. You need to design the actual facility, design it from an architectural perspective. There are a few norms that we have to respect. Height, raised floor, a number of things that you have to take into account. A lot of parameters. So you need a data center design company to design the data center for you, design the electrical systems, design the cooling systems, the hydraulic systems, the monitoring systems.
And the processors or the servers?
No, we don't have servers yet. When we introduce servers, now we start to talk about cloud, we start to talk about infrastructure as a service.
So it's storage, but no servers?
No server. No storage, just a building. You're just building a facility in which you can bring servers.
Okay, so the first...
it's the base layer.
If you're talking about the data centers, pure infrastructure, there are no storage. So what you sell is a part of what you built that is built to host data center.
Absolutely.
To host storage and...
Think of it as a hotel.
Okay.
And the tenants are the people that come and stay at the hotel. So when you build a hotel, there are no people in it.
So land, energy, connectivity, so cables to simplify.
Fiber.
And fiber simplify. So land, okay. And then directly you talked about energy, which is very interesting because when I did some research about N+ONE, I didn't know a lot about data centers and I was searching for the unit of size of data centers.
Yes.
And the unit of size is in watt and megawatt.
In megawatts, absolutely.
So it's an energy unit.
It's an energy unit, yes.
And it's very interesting. It shows that maybe the bottleneck for data centers is energy.
Now it is. Back then it wasn't. So we're talking about 2008, 2009. Even now, in Morocco, we don't yet have a bottleneck in terms of energy for data centers. But internationally, right now, with the advent of AI, energy is the most important aspect. Availability of land and energy.
So do you need...
And also the right kind of energy.
What do you mean by right kind?
Well, the right kind. Resilient, green, cost. It's not just energy. At what cost? Because you consume a lot of it.
So do you need to be in a country with low-cost energy to build a data center?
Depends on what you're going to use it for.
Okay.
So let's go back to our use case, which is Morocco. Energy cost is not relevant. The data has to be in Morocco, no matter what the energy is going to cost us.
Yeah, okay.
So
it's
energy
a matter of sovereignty and data security.
Yeah, but then if you want to talk about attractiveness of some locations for a data center play that is going to be more global, then yes, the Nordics are very successful. And you have a lot of data centers in the Nordics because the cost of energy is low, because you have the climate is favorable also. If you're in a hot climate, you're going to use more energy to cool your servers. The servers are generating heat. If on top of that you have a hot climate, it can impact your what we call PUE, which is your effectiveness in using the energy to power the servers. It's called power usage effectiveness. So the Nordics are very successful.
I saw this project in Saudi Arabia. They plan to do a 500 megawatt data center, I think, with Elon Musk.
Or gigawatts. The numbers are staggering.
So for the example, they are very attractive because the price of the energy is very low. Yeah. Right?
Yes, but there's also investment. There's a geopolitical play.
Yeah.
AI is actually maybe tomorrow's gold rush, or there's a gold rush already for AI. So now things are shifting very quickly right now in terms of why would you go do Saudi? Why would you go do this country or that country? There are now geopolitical factors that come into play as well.
In terms of price of energy, we're attractive in Morocco. Where do we sit compared to other countries?
We can be. Things have gotten better with the green energy that we're developing in country. We're becoming a lot more attractive. We're a good location for data centers.
Yeah. You talked about cooling also, so it's very important. There's heat
that is generated when you turn on the servers.
And then you have a cooling system. So is it like it's water, or how does it work?
You have a lot of different ways to cool servers. Generally, we're going to use water to cool the servers, but water in a closed loop, which means that you have a hydraulic circuit that turns, that has water. So hot water goes into what we call a chiller. It cools that water and then sends it back cold. And then you have, the split system you have at home, something similar, that takes the hot air and then blows cold air. And it keeps looping. Right?
So you have water and air to cool everything.
To cool everything,
inside.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have different technologies. Yeah. Now we're talking about immersion cooling. There are new technologies today where you put the servers in a liquid, like the whole server is in a liquid, and you're cooling the liquid, right? So
how do you go inside the room if everything's in water?
So we use what we call racks, which is like a closet, where you put the servers.
If you enter a data center, you have...
Yeah, instead of the rack being vertical, it's horizontal like a hot tub. And then the servers are inside that container.
Then you put them
in that liquid. Okay. Yeah, it's called immersive cooling.
Okay.
What other ways can we cool servers? You have what we call free cooling or direct air cooling, where you bring the outside air to cool the servers. It can work in some locations where you have the right humidity levels. You filter it because you don't want particles to come in. So in a cold climate, you can take advantage of the fact that it's cold outside and to bring that air and use that. Call it direct free cooling. We also do indirect free cooling. There's so many ways to cool the servers, but they're very location dependent. And also they depend on what workload you're trying to cool.
So for example, if you're in the Nordics, you can use maybe outside air and the combination with other things.
Yeah, and maybe complete it in hotter days. You have also people that are using seawater to cool.
Okay.
Yeah? So they will send over the heat into the ocean, comes back cold, and go into the...
That's why a lot of data centers are close to the water. Maybe it's also due to renewable energy, but...
Depends. There are many factors. You have some data centers that will be close, maybe because they're close to submarine cables.
Maybe the cables also.
Submarine cables land.
So cables, maybe renewable energy, cooling, a lot of reasons.
Absolutely. But it brings other complexities. It's salt water, it's high humidity, and that's another problem. So if you want to remove humidity, you're also going to use energy.
Interesting.
Right. A lot of engineering goes into a data center.
We're in 2008. For the moment, you don't have to have servers. We'll come back to servers because it's very important. And today we're talking about GPUs and CPUs and TPUs and NVIDIA and everything.
But a few years later, I started another company called...
after.
Yeah. A few years later, we started a company doing that. That's a separate...
Okay. So a data center, like Equinix in Europe and everything, at the beginning, and even today, it's only the infrastructure part.
Yes.
So you start building that. How do you start? How do you finance it? How do you secure the first clients? How do you do that in the beginning?
Okay, so in a mature market, usually people will have an anchor tenant, a customer that is willing or committing to take the space, and then you go and build a data center. I was not able to convince anybody to give me.
So meaning they have the clients before building it.
Yes.
Because it's infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's the same as in energy when you have the
an
contract.
You have an off-taker.
You have an off-taker, you have the contract, and then you go build it, you finance it, and you can finance it because you already know the who are the clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Or you build it based on, you can build speculatively, but you're building based on a pipeline. You're in a mature market. You know you will end up having a customer. There's demand in a specific geographic area, so you're going to open there. You know you will get a customer, for sure, because there's so much demand. In Morocco, there was no demand. There was no product.
In a mature market, it's a finance play.
Yeah, it's almost...
it's an infra finance.
It's digital infra. It resembles a REIT when it comes to how it works. Yeah.
Okay. But not in Morocco at the time.
Not in Morocco, no. At the time, there was no demand and there was no product. So we had to do both. So for me, it was just conviction, right? So I did not have any customers. I kept my project very secret. No one knew I was building it for competitive reasons, for different reasons. So I was building it quietly.
Is it a good thing to do? Because like the usual advice today is you should tell your idea, you should tell it to everyone and everything. In this case, was it the right thing to do?
I guess. Well, at the time, I thought it would be a competitive advantage to quietly build it, and once ready. Actually, it turns out we never announced that we're building it. Up until now, I don't think we ever announced projects before we completed them and they have customers. I guess it's part of the DNA of the company. So I decided to go ahead with the project. Financing was difficult. I had no clue these things were so expensive. No idea how much it would cost. Then when I saw that how much I needed to build the first facility, it was I needed a certain level of funding. So I took everything I have. I put it in the business. My dad helped me at the time and got started. And the rest is history. So we opened with no customers.
Okay.
But we had other sources of revenue in parallel to the facility. So we sold our expertise to third parties. We helped other companies build, I wouldn't call them data centers, but server rooms, much smaller. So it was a source of revenue. And then probably about 6 months after we opened, we got our first customer purely by coincidence. Okay. A consulting firm called me. They had met me at a seminar and said, you build data centers. So you guys build data centers, yeah? So there's a customer that wants to build a data center. Who is it? It's the national airline. I said, yeah, give him my contact info. The gentleman calls me, says, I hear you build data centers. We need one. It was after the floods in Casablanca. I think 2009 or 10, we had flooding, or 11, I forgot, but at the time. The customer signed in 2011. So I said, yeah, we build data centers. Why don't you come and visit a reference facility we have? I didn't offer to rent him space, okay? Because at the time, no one took it seriously. You know?
So you built it, but you didn't have clients for the moment?
No clients, yeah. It was empty for a little bit.
Okay. So built, but you sold the expertise for them?
Yeah, okay. In parallel to third parties. Built a few data centers around Casablanca.
Okay.
Did one for a bank, one for a telco, one for... We did probably about 7 or 8 projects back then. So it was a source of revenue. And as we made money doing that, we improved our data center and added things and improved it. So the customer comes to visit what is a reference of a data center we can build, visited, and he sees this big data hall empty. He says, with racks, obviously. He says, what is this? I said, it's available for customers. He said, what do you mean? I said, it's available for rent. He said, wait, you're saying I don't have to build? I can just come and rent the space from you and everything is taken care of 24/7? I said, yeah. You don't have to operate the facility, nothing. We take care of everything. Bring your servers, put them in the rack. We guarantee you availability. And if we are not available, meaning we're down, like electricity gets cut or something, we'll pay you back the equivalent of 1 month of rent for every hour we are down. It's called an SLA, penalties. We accepted very high penalties.
1 hour, you pay back 1 month of revenue.
If I'm down 1 hour, I pay you back 1 month.
Okay.
And if I'm down 3 times in a row, you're free to leave.
Okay.
People were saying, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, but that's what we're selling. We have to do what we need to do to be able to be at that level of service. And years later, 15 years later, we still have the highest possible uptime in the country.
Je fais une petite pause dans cet épisode pour te parler de mes amis et partenaires Taptap Send que j'utilise personnellement et qui soutient NEXTWAVE depuis le début. Si tu habites en dehors du Maroc, tu dois absolument connaître Taptap Send. J'ai personnellement vécu 10 ans en France et comme tous les Marocains qui habitent à l'étranger, j'ai voulu envoyer de l'argent vers le Maroc. Certains veulent soutenir des proches, certains veulent épargner au Maroc ou investir leur argent, mais dans tous les cas, dans ces moments-là, on recherche 3 choses: rapidité, simplicité et le moins de frais possible. C'est ce que propose Taptap Send. Il permet d'envoyer de l'argent vers le Maroc depuis une trentaine de pays dans le monde. Et ce qui m'a convaincu, c'est que les transferts bancaires sont gratuits. En gros, leur modèle, c'est une petite marge sur le taux de change et ils sont transparents et compétitifs. Ils proposent un des meilleurs taux du marché. Donc si vous voulez envoyer de l'argent vers le Maroc, ne réfléchissez pas et téléchargez l'application Taptap Send. Vous pourrez transférer votre argent vers des comptes bancaires, mais aussi vers Cash Plus ou AfaCash. Si vous venez de notre part, vous recevrez un cadeau lors de votre inscription. Par exemple, 15 € depuis la France ou 25 $ depuis les États-Unis. Donc téléchargez l'application Taptap Send et utilisez le code NEXTWAVE. Je vous remets en description toutes les infos. Vous êtes déjà des centaines à avoir utilisé l'application et certains m'ont remercié pour la recommandation. Et j'aimerais à mon tour remercier l'équipe Taptap Send de me soutenir depuis le début de NEXTWAVE. Et sur ce, on peut reprendre l'épisode.
So your assumption was that companies were going to need data centers outside of their own
Absolutely.
facility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For what reasons do they need that? What was the assumption?
For many, many reasons. Number one, they can never achieve the same level, the capex required to achieve the level of quality, the level of operations.
It doesn't make sense for one company.
It doesn't make, There are economies of scale with data centers. It's way too expensive to do it at home.
Okay. Like the parallel is to build your own highway to go somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But for small companies, maybe it's possible, but for bigger one, it's complicated.
Today, it doesn't make sense for anybody because what we rely so much on our servers being up all the time. The cost of a few minutes of downtime is huge. Take, for example, the banking system. Imagine if for 1 hour we could not transact with our credit cards, with our Visa cards or MasterCard. If we could not transact for 1 hour, 1 day, what's the cost to the economy? It's huge.
Very important.
Our revenue from providing that type of service is a fraction of what you would lose. As a sales strategy, I used to tell my customers, pay me 1 hour of what it costs if your server room is down. Pay me just 1 hour per year. It's huge. So think of it as insurance. But behind the scenes, we had to do what it took to make sure that it works all the time. So it's a lot of work, 24/7.
Uptime, so the uptime is opposed to downtime. So
yes.
It's the time when you operate, so everything works.
Yeah.
And even the name N+ONE comes from this, no?
Yeah.
N+ONE means N+1, so you make everything redundant.
Exactly,
right?
Absolutely. That's where the name comes from. There are different ways to build redundancy, but one term that came up a lot in our sector is N+1. So you need N systems to operate. You add one more to back up the N.
So it means you have one source of energy, you need to have a backup.
Yeah. Technically, we're 2N. Okay, that's another way of doing it. But
okay.
kind of it sounded good as a name for the
You have
company.
N+ONE and you have 2N. Okay.
Yeah, but usually we have 2N
So
redundancy, if not more.
you have another, like you have backup.
Yeah.
So it's batteries,
So
things like that.
the way we secure energy is that we use well, first of all, we get energy from the utility. When we get energy from the utility, we have to make sure it's clean.
What does it mean? From the
Utility, ONE, from the provider,
The utilities. Okay.
utility company. So we get the energy from the utility company. We put it through UPSs. A UPS is a piece of hardware that will make sure the energy is clean.
What does it mean?
It means that there are no voltage fluctuations, no frequency fluctuations, because you don't want unclean energy hitting your servers, because it can damage the power supplies of the servers. And it can even damage your hard disks. If you have a spike in your voltage, it can damage the actual servers. So we put UPSs, and the UPS is going to deliver perfectly clean wave to the hardware. So first of all, before we talk about redundancy, you need the right type of energy going into the servers. And then in between, you put gensets. You put diesel generators to do the backup. And you have batteries in between. So when you lose utility, the UPS switches over to the batteries while the generator is being powered up, because it takes a few seconds for the generator.
When you don't have utility or the energy is not clean.
Is not clean.
You use your backup, which is diesel.
Which is diesel gensets, absolutely.
Okay, so you burn.
You burn diesel.
You burn diesel and you use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other
And you
thing-
have to and you have to design your facility. We call it. You have to have your own power plant. You design your power plant, which is the diesel generators in plural, to run indefinitely.
What does it mean?
Well, let's say upstream, there's something really bad that happened to where you're getting your energy from, and it won't come back for a month. What do? You can't shut down the data center.
Okay.
So it's not the lost power at home for 1 or 2 hours and it comes back. Yeah, but what if something catastrophic
You
happens?
need to secure a source of diesel, for the example.
Yeah.
That can sustain for a week, a month.
Absolutely. So what you do, you store enough diesel on site, and you have contracts with supplier to replenish. So for example, in some countries or some geographies, you're going to do 24 hours, and that's enough, because if you lose power, you have a strong contract from a diesel supplier that will bring you, let's say, diesel every 12 hours. But if it's more complicated, then you're going to set up your system to 72 hours.
What's your
and so
backup today in terms of energy?
Today, we run at 48 hours.
48 hours.
Well, we have multiple data centers, so they're all different.
With the diesel that you have,
yeah, we can run.
You can run 48 hours,
Yeah.
and then you have contracts.
72 hours in other facilities.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you have contracts. As long as we keep supplying diesel, the data center will be up and running.
Okay. What were the challenges in the 3-5 years of operation?
Early
Starting
days
the
or-
company in the early days.
Early days, talent. We're operating a data center. You cannot post a job posting, data center manager. Where are you going to get the guy from?
The
There are
job
no
doesn't
data
exist.
centers. The job doesn't
Yeah.
exist. So it was that. So the first few years, it was about building the skills internally. Okay? And I think about 90% of the people that started the company with me are still there, 15 years later. Yeah. So
And you were the only founder
Yeah.
of the company.
Yeah.
Was it hard being only one founder and one?
It's lonely.
Yeah.
It's lonely. It's a big responsibility. Yeah. What I tell, one story I like to tell, when I got the first customer, which is the Moroccan airline, so they move in. It's a whole process. It takes a while to move a data center. It's not furniture that you move. Lots of planning, a lot of project management to make sure that the servers are safe during transport, that you have rollback scenarios. It's a big project to move a data center. So we successfully moved the data center, and so everything is running fine. It was overnight. I was there. I oversaw the process with the customer and my team. And so we had it was an all-nighter. We didn't sleep. We started at 7 p.m., I recall, on a Friday. We finished at about 7 in the morning. I go home, and I can't sleep. The weight of responsibility just came down, because then I said, I was going to say a bad word. I said, gosh.
If it doesn't work, what happens?
If something happens on my shoulders, the national airline will have issues operating. It could be my fault.
Yeah.
No way to
Huge responsibility.
Huge responsibility. And I couldn't sleep. So I took a blanket and a pillow, and I went to the data center, and I slept in the NOC, the Network Operations Center, which is the room where we monitor everything. And that's how I was able to get a night's sleep. I had to hear the servers humming.
Yeah.
So I spent the night there, and then slowly started to get used to the responsibility that you carry when you host customer critical data, critical customers.
Yeah. Let's go to the business model of data centers, but also the evolution. So the colocation, you said it's the rent of the facilities, but then you also have maybe your own servers. We're talking about cloud, talking about having your own hardware, a lot of infrastructure as a service.
Yeah.
There are a lot of words in terms of service, but also evolution of the sector. Can you go through a little bit of that?
Yeah. So put Morocco aside for a second, because we have and I think it's probably one of the success factors for us. We built a model that works for Morocco, but let's put that aside. I'll go back to it. Typically, there's a value chain, and you have different companies that address that part of the value chain. So you will have the data center operator, mentioned Equinix, Digital Realty, many famous names out there. And that's what they do. They build facilities. There are different types of data centers. So you have data centers that are targeting the enterprise market. So they're set up to have multiple customers of a certain size, bank, and so on. And then you have data centers that cater to hyperscalers. Hyperscalers are the Googles, Meta, Amazon, etc., Microsoft. And you have some that do both. So most data center operators obviously started as enterprise data centers, because there were no hyperscalers before internet or while internet was coming about. And then they moved into hyperscale. Today, the market internationally is quite well segmented. So you have data centers that are very specialized in enterprise, some that are specialized in hyperscale. Some very large ones are going to be present
Amazon
in both.
Doesn't build their own infrastructure, so it's a company like Equinix that partners with the. So maybe it changes today, but historically it's a partnership between an infrastructure company and
the hyperscaler
and the tech company like Amazon, like a hyperscaler.
Yeah, well, it depends. So hyperscalers usually have both models. They self-build, but they also rent capacity.
Okay.
They do both. They all do both.
So that's the data center part.
Yes.
But then you have the hosting, like the OVH.
Exactly.
That's a different part.
Yeah. Well, OVH is a very particular model because they're doing both.
Okay. What's a pure player of hosting and
servers? Pure player of hosting is Digital Realty, Equinix. Well, it used to be called Interaction at the time in France. QTS, Vantage. There are many big names that are pure players in the infrastructure space.
Okay.
Digital infrastructure space. So these guys don't sell cloud. They don't sell servers. They sell. And then the next step or the next piece of the value chain is going to be infrastructure as a service. This is what OVH does, for example, where you're going to be providing servers on a rental basis, on a subscription basis. So it can be bare bone servers, meaning you're renting a physical server. Actual piece of hardware is being provided, dedicated, bare metal. Or you're renting a virtual server, which is just a piece of a server with a certain capacity and so on.
Okay.
And usually these guys are customers of data centers.
Interesting. So in the beginning, it's only the infrastructure part, and then big companies come and put their servers. Then they not only rent the infrastructure, but the infrastructure plus the servers. And then the cloud means that they can rent like even a part of a server. So it's flexible.
It's flexible.
It depends on your needs.
Yeah. And then the next step is someone that will deploy, let's say, a CRM that you use on a subscription basis.
Yeah.
So the end product is a CRM into which you subscribe. That is probably using a cloud provider behind it. And it can be one of the big cloud providers or maybe a smaller one, depending on which piece of software.
So let's go into the server part.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about that. So a server, it's kind of a computer. So it's what is inside the computer, right? It's computation and storage.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. So unlike your laptop, in modern infrastructure, all these things are now separate. You have storage, and then you have compute. The storage is usually separate from compute. You have different types of storage depending on the performance you're looking for, depending on what you're going to use it for. Storing data you don't access often can be stored on disks that are lower cost. Data that you need to access a lot is going to be stored on high performance storage.
That's the SSD.
SSD, for example,
Okay.
or there are even newer technologies nowadays. So in modern infrastructure, things are separate. So you have the storage, the compute, things are
So you have
separate.
like chips for compute.
Yeah,
you have like a hard drive.
Yeah, compute is your CPU and your memory. That's what we call compute.
Okay.
Storage is your disk.
Okay. It's been like 2, 3, 4 years. We're talking a lot about GPUs.
Yeah.
And NVIDIA and Intel, AMD. It's getting very important and very strategical due to AI. How did you see the evolution of this computation part, this server part? Historically, we're talking more about CPUs, central processing units, and then graphics processing unit, GPUs, were for gaming, I think, and other
initially,
things.
for gaming.
Then for AI, how did you see this evolution?
Well, things actually went quite fast. Even for us, we saw things accelerate very quickly over the past 3-4 years, and it has a big impact on what we do. Remember we were talking about energy earlier. We used to, when we rented a rack, when we leased a rack to a customer, we would give him a power allocation. It used to be 2 kilowatts in the early days. Then it grew to 6 kilowatts, 10 kilowatts. Today, a rack with GPUs can go up to 160 kilowatts. That's massive. We're predicting even more. We're predicting 1 megawatt in one rack. Just to give you an idea, what is a rack? A rack is think of it as like a closet type of thing, or where you put your servers. It measures 60 to 80 centimeters in width and 1.2 meters in depth. That's it. That's the footprint. That's one rack. It's 80 centimeters by 120. And in that...
120 meter?
1 meter 20.
Okay.
1.2 meters.
Okay.
It's not that big, footprint-wise. And that thing is consuming 160 kilowatts.
And so in this rack, you have like 30 or 40 servers, right?
Yeah.
42
you
or
can
something
fit,
like Okay.
Usually we have 42 units, and servers are so things are standardized in our industry in terms of size. So a rack has a certain size.
And you have a certain number of units inside. So this rack In terms of energy consumption, it went.
It went from being consuming 2 kilowatts 15 years ago to 160, 300 kilowatts, and we're predicting 1 megawatt in the near future.
Wow, that's insane.
The multiplying factor is huge.
So the density is
The
very,
density
very important.
is going up a lot. Yeah. So it has a big impact in how we do things today and how we're going to do things in the future.
To understand, in terms of capacity, so what's the capacity today of N+ONE? I don't know if we have also numbers of the total capacity in Morocco of data centers or not. And if you're talking about like 1 megawatt, what can you
do with
it?
With one
what size of company? What number of I don't know, families? Like how can we have a sense of size and utility of 1 megawatt of data center?
Okay. Trying to do the computation in my mind. Well, we usually don't communicate publicly on how much capacity we have, but we have more than 10 megawatts under operation today, I can tell you that. And we have more under development. The total capacity available in Morocco, hard to tell. We can add up announcements or we can add up reality, and usually difficult to get the right info, not just in Morocco, globally.
Even outside.
Even outside.
There are a lot of announcements of like
1 gigawatt,
1 gigawatt,
100
but then
megawatt, what's really been built.
Yeah,
because
maybe it's in 5 years, 10 years, we don't know.
And the truth is, we build in phases. So you design your facility, you do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So you never know what's really there. Right. So based on for the size of Morocco, so let's say an average size bank in Morocco would need about 250 to 300 kilowatts to power the servers it's using to deliver the service to the customer.
Okay.
On average, from what I see in terms of the customers that we have.
So it's a third of a megawatt.
Yeah, about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a megawatt, maybe 3 big banks.
Big where? Morocco, US, Europe?
No, Morocco.
Morocco, yeah. You can probably. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It gives a sense. And maybe to go through the sovereignty subject, very interesting.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we, like everywhere in the world, we're talking more about sovereignty since COVID. No?
Mm-hmm.
I think since 2020, when we see that, okay, sometimes things happen and you're not really connected to everyone, and you really need to have some things in your own country, but sovereignty has been a subject for a lot of time. Why is it important to have your data centers in the country? And today, what is possible to do in the country and what is not possible? Like, for example, if I'm connected to Gmail and sending emails, it's not a data center in Morocco, so it's outside. It's personal use. So why is it important to have data centers in the country, and what can you do through them, and what is not possible yet?
Okay. Well, sovereignty is here to address 2 objectives. The first one is resiliency. So if all the content you are using, Gmail included everything, is outside country, what happens if you have a disruption? Let's say all the networks that are connecting your country to the rest of the world end up getting cut. We rely on submarine cables. If we recall, about a year and a half ago, there was a major submarine cable cut in Côte d'Ivoire, and the whole country was pretty much paralyzed. Yeah, submarine cable that was bringing capacity to Côte d'Ivoire. So the first reason you want your data at home is to have a certain level of resiliency. Okay. If you're going to rely more and more on digital and cloud services and so on, you need some level of resiliency. It's really important. That's one reason. Okay. Other reasons are legal. Take a Moroccan company and its data. If all of the data is outside Morocco, what law applies to that data? Moroccan law or European law? Now, that's usually solved because we tend to have a harmonization of the legal frameworks between countries. So technically it works. So another thing that comes up a lot is the Cloud Act, which is
in the US.
In the US.
So everything that is in a US data center?
Everything that is hosted with a US cloud provider can be subject to the Cloud Act.
And so the US can go into the data and see
Yeah.
what's in there.
Well, not quite, actually. This is what people think.
Okay.
The law was enacted as a counterterrorism measure to be able to access data for American national security. I can hardly imagine that your data is of any interest to the NSA.
Well, it's more
There are
if there's something that happens,
yeah.
we can
Yeah.
check and we can see.
And there's a framework for that to happen, and the hyperscaler does inform you. There's a few things that get involved. But generally speaking, all these things are creating this notion of need for data sovereignty.
Mhm.
And Morocco is actually doing quite a lot to improve our sovereignty. Okay, yeah. So that's in essence what it means.
And what can we do today with data centers that are in Morocco? So enterprises, big companies, they can have their own data centers in Morocco, right?
Yeah.
But what is not yet possible?
Everything is possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Today there's no need for a Moroccan company to go and host its data outside of Morocco.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, let me reframe it. Say you want, you're using Gmail as your, well, Gmail is not in Morocco. So if you're using Gmail, your data is going to be outside of Morocco. But if you leave aside the personal use and you move and you talk about the enterprise, for the most part, you can have everything here.
Yeah.
Except for a few SaaS solutions that are not yet available.
So for the emails, for example.
Yeah.
I have a company in Morocco. I want to host my email locally. How can I do?
Call me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that. Yeah, we host a lot of email. We have a specific product for the local market. Yeah.
Okay. So you went from only the infra to infra
Yes,
servers.
So,
but then you have services on top of that.
yeah.
What are these services?
But that's a different company. It's not called N+ONE. So just to explain a bit the evolution of our company. So as we started working with our customers, somewhere around 2013, 14, customers starting to ask us, well, do I need to rent a full rack? And I just need 2 servers. And then we started to consider offering it as a service for our customers. So we built our own cloud product. Because we are called N+ONE, we called it One Cloud.
Okay.
One Cloud today is its own entity.
So it means I don't want to do colo. I don't want to have like.
I don't even want to buy the servers. I don't want to do anything with that. I just want the compute.
I just want the compute, and it's flexible. Meaning today I want X, and today I can have like a third or 10X.
Yeah.
And the pricing is flexible.
Absolutely. You can expand. You can, we have elasticity embedded and so on. But then we moved away from that model. Actually, we are what we like to call ourselves a multi-cloud. So you can come to us. You can blend everything. So you can have some servers that are dedicated, that are yours, hardware, physical. For some workloads, maybe it makes sense. We can offer you a solution that is built with a hyperscaler, hosted in Morocco. We can offer you our own cloud product, which is called One Cloud. So we have now a full suite of solutions for our customers.
So I think 2 years ago, there was this deal with the hyperscaler that I saw in the press.
Yes.
Why was it important to partner with the hyperscaler? And maybe let's define again a hyperscaler. It's a big company, a big tech company that also has services. It's like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and everything.
Yeah. So I like to categorize them into two categories. You have the B2C ones and then the B2B ones, and some are both. You take Meta. It's mainly B2C, right? The main product is the social media we're consuming. There's a level of B2B because they do deals with large entities and so on, but it's mainly what is perceived as a B2C. So it is a product that is there to deliver content to the public. And then you have the B2B ones, which should be AWS, for example.
Okay.
Where you
So that's cloud.
that's cloud. So all these guys we
AWS,
call
it's Amazon Web Services. So it's
Amazon
cloud.
Web, yeah, it's cloud, or Microsoft Azure.
Mhm.
Microsoft is a bit of a hybrid because you have Office 365 and then you have also other things. Oracle is also a hyperscaler, more B2B because they primarily provide databases as a service, cloud services for the enterprise. So there are two categories of hyperscalers, right? The ones that are delivering lots of content, and others that are delivering services to the enterprise. So two main categories.
And why was it important to partner with a hyperscaler and to bring this hyperscaler to Morocco?
How can we be sovereign without partnering with the solution providers? Are we going to rewrite operating systems? Are we going to rewrite Microsoft Word? Are we going to rewrite Oracle database systems? For me, the way to sovereignty, or at least solve for one important thing, is data residency. So first of all, before talking about the actual systems, etc., it needs to be in country, subject to Moroccan laws, subject to Moroccan regulation, running on Moroccan telecom networks, independent. You could take a scissor and cut all the submarine cables around Morocco. We need stuff to work. So having them in country, having them and others that we are working with is important to our data sovereignty. It brings we're going to have better performance for our customers. Customers can pay in dirhams. It can be quite complicated for startups to pay for cloud services overseas in hard currency. When a hyperscaler shows up, they bring a whole ecosystem with them of different solutions, software that can become available. So I think it's important that we work with them, not against them.
It's interesting. Actually, so they come with services. So that's services on top of the data and infra layer.
Yeah.
And these services, before having an Amazon or an Oracle in the country, you had to pay it in euro or dollars and everything, and it was so.
And your data was
now
overseas.
It can be stored in Morocco, and the services are
in Morocco. Everything is in Morocco.
In Morocco, but like the software has been written by a US company.
Yeah.
So there are several things that are very interesting. The first one is we talk about sovereignty, but you're very pragmatic on this, like because there's this debate even in Europe on GAFAM and the fact that all those companies are American and you don't have like counterparts in Europe or Africa. Yeah. But you're saying, okay, we're not going to rewrite what the code that has been written by Microsoft for 25 years. We have to partner with them, but the data has to be in our countries.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the sovereignty.
That's the premise.
That's the premise.
Well, look, sovereignty has there are two layers to the sovereignty debate. And frankly, personally, I'm not a big fan of the word sovereignty because it's very misleading. Actually, when you look at our law in Morocco, which is issued by DGSSE, the Directorate for Cyber Defense, which is managed by the Ministry of Defense. The law on cloud does not mention the word sovereign. The term is not used. We talk about data classification. Is this national security type of data, ultra secret national data, or not? That's where the sovereignty, that's when you can start maybe using the sovereignty debate, right? And sometimes we confuse that with data protection, which is different, which is in Morocco managed by CNDP. So companies have an obligation to protect private data. That's one dimension. Cyber defense is another one. Okay? So the way things are in Morocco today is that the DGSSI has sponsored a law that says that companies have, and government entities have to classify their data in two categories. I'm simplifying things, right? In two categories, level 1, level 2. We as suppliers, we come and say, I'd like to certify my system as okay for level 1 or for level 2.
Okay, you as N+ONE.
As N+ONE
Or
or
other
one
data
cloud.
centers.
But
Or
anybody.
one cloud. Okay.
Anybody. This doesn't concern data centers. Because, you know, a data center has zero access to customer data.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
We're merely the container, right?
Yeah, so you're more talking about the cloud part, the server part. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It concerns more the actual cloud providers. So then, as a government entity, you need to classify the data that you have. Is it national security level data or not? And then we decide whether you need to go into a level 1 type of cloud operator or level 2 type of cloud operator. But things are very structured, actually. And you will be surprised how much data, how little national security data. I mean, we're talking about the ultra confidential stuff.
Okay.
Okay? Your data about your bank account is not national security.
Okay. Interesting.
Your data.
That's more CNDP.
If it's breached, it's your
personal.
privacy that was
Interesting.
impacted.
Okay.
But it's not national security data. Your bank account or
So
mine,
when you
but-
talk about sovereignty, you should talk only about national security data, and it's not so much data. It's very
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah, I usually I do a lot of talks and panels. I usually start by explaining exactly what I just said, which is the word sovereign, does not appear anywhere in the law. Why are we
Interesting.
talking about it?
Interesting.
Let's be very pragmatic. I need to, let's say I am a bank and I want to offer a new service to my customers. And ideally, I should provide it through a cloud provider. The first question I need to ask myself, okay, is this data that I'm talking about national security type or not? If it's not, then I need to work with a provider that respects CNDP regulations, that puts in the right cybersecurity measures to protect the data from leaks and so on, cybersecurity. But it's not national security.
And for you, it's not the same measures if it's CNDP or if it's national security.
It's two different topics. National security is one thing, but sovereignty as a global term, for me, simply means that as a country, we have to be more resilient. It's very important. We have to be more resilient, which means that if you have disturbances in the internet in Europe, they shouldn't be impacting us here in Morocco. Right? I think resiliency is the first thing we have to look at. And then you have the security, cyber and protecting
step
it.
by step.
But the different levels that we need to address.
Let's talk a little bit about AI. I'll take maybe for my startup friends. So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a startup founder in Morocco, interested by AI. Can I train models locally? Can I have access to open source, not open source, closed source, open AI models, Morocco, and train them in Morocco? So when we talk about AI, there is certain type of calculations and GPUs.
Yeah.
Do we have access to this kind of chips in Morocco, and do we have the possibility to access these models?
Okay, so you can do inference in Morocco. We have
inference is the training of the model.
the fine-tuning of the model.
Fine-tuning, so it's very calculation heavy.
Yeah, but we have GPUs available at our facilities. And we have startups actually that come see us. They want GPUs, and we're able to provide GPUs in Morocco. Training, it depends on what you're doing. Training is very, very, very expensive and requires massive investment in GPUs. Okay. Could you train a model in Morocco? Depends. If it's something small that fits within the capacities that we have. But we don't have today gigawatts of GPUs available.
Training before, so the inference is it's the generation. So when you're talking with the ChatGPT, you ask him a question, when he responds, it's inference, right?
I'll tell you how an expert in AI explained it to me.
Okay.
He said, training is studying for the exam.
Yeah.
Takes time, hard work, longer time. Inference is the exam.
Yeah. Okay.
In terms of compute requirement, you know.
So it's the discussion with ChatGPT, for like to simplify,
Yeah.
right? And the training is the training of the model.
Yeah.
The thing that we'll use
You need
to answer the exam.
That's it,
Right.
exactly. You need lots
So the
of
training,
capacity.
it's tens of millions of dollars, right?
Yes,
This kind of ordre de grandeur,
Yeah.
right?
tens of millions. Yeah,
I think, no?
yeah, even
Something
more.
like that.
Yeah,
Even more. Okay. So it's not realistic to
Depends
say,
on what you're doing.
it's not
actually.
really realistic to say like a startup company in Morocco is going to train a new model, okay? But when you do the inference, you use
And fine tuning.
and the fine tuning, you use a model that is already trained and it's trained elsewhere.
Exactly.
When you partner with the hyperscaler, do they have like partnership with
Yeah,
AI companies that have models?
absolutely.
And so you can access these models locally
Yes.
and do the inference locally? Because
Today,
it would be like, it's great if
it's the case. We have it
okay.
today. Not just them. So today, we're able to deliver to our customers pretty much all of the open source models available today. So you can come in, use one of the available models and develop around it. And we have
Very
GPUs as
interesting.
well that,
So
that you
like
can
the
use.
Meta, Llama,
Llama,
open source
you can
model,
Llama.
you can use
Yeah,
it.
and I'll take this even further. With the hyperscaler that is launching their cloud, it's imminent, by the way. It's going to be publicly available very soon. Take, for example, computer vision. Okay, so let's say you want, as part of your application, you want to feed an image to AI, and then the AI gives you a certain output. Computer vision detection. Hyperscalers now have ready services, already trained. So it's an API. You give it the image, gives you back the output. It's done through AI. You're not even doing training yourself or anything. You're using directly the service. It can be translation, it could be voice, it could be text to speech. So you have a lot of services already pre-trained and ready, and you can just use them as an API. You can use hyperscalers have that as part of
Very
the catalog.
interesting. So when we were talking before about all the services that this hyperscaler bring, it's also AI.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
And GPUs. They also bring GPUs with them.
Okay, they also bring GPUs.
Yeah.
My most advanced startup friends would tell me, yes, but sometimes open source models are not as good as closed source as Anthropic or OpenAI.
Yeah.
How can we, like, is it possible in the future that we also have this closed source model and we can do inference locally? What would it take?
This is a tough one. Here we start to hit some limitations that even Europe is struggling with.
Okay, interesting.
Right? So we could use OpenAI's models probably. But say you wanted to use an API that sends data to OpenAI to do something where you're using their capabilities and then you get it back. Unfortunately, today, we cannot host for you OpenAI in Morocco. It's not possible. Will we have that someday? Look, I think it's too early. Things change every day with AI. We're still scratching the surface as to what will be available, how it will work down the road. I'm convinced the cost is going to keep going down in terms of accessing the compute and the tokens. The price per token is going to be going down aggressively. Let's see how that plays out. But if you have a startup that needs to build something on top of OpenAI, it is what it is.
Yeah. In these hyperscalers, they usually go to like a European country and they partner and they do like 100 megawatts, something like that, infrastructure. Does it exist in other parts of Africa? How is the market in Africa, like globally? What are the countries that have the most infrastructure that are advanced?
So South Africa is very advanced. for two reasons. So, as it's the largest economy in Africa, so that's one of the reasons. The other is distance. Distance played a lot in their favor, but not in ours. They are a few hundred milliseconds away from Europe. So if you're
Milliseconds for data.
for data, yeah. So if you're YouTube or Instagram and you want to deliver your content, it's going to be choppy and slow and delayed, and because it's so far away,
Yeah.
distance-wise. So you need to bring your content closer to the customer. So there are many, many reasons that forced hyperscalers to open at least edge locations and so on in South Africa. Second thing that works well for them is the fact that they have a diversified telecom environment. There are tens of ISPs. In Morocco, we have 3 ISPs.
ISPs is telecom operator?
Internet service providers.
Internet service provider. Okay.
In Morocco, it happens to be the telecom operators. But elsewhere in the world, we have options.
It's separated. Okay.
So the diversity of telecom ISPs in South Africa was helpful to them. Now, looking at the whole continent, Morocco is going to be the first location where a hyperscaler is opening a region outside of South Africa. Yes, we are the first. Yeah.
No, there's no hyperscaler in Egypt, no hyperscaler in, I don't know, Nigeria and everything?
Cloud region, be very specific. You know, hyperscalers can be customers of a data center, but sometimes for something small, a few servers, a couple of racks. But soon, in a few weeks maybe even less, you will be able to log into this specific hyperscaler's platform, say, I want a server, you click to choose the region, and you're going to have Casablanca. And you can create a server in Casablanca with that hyperscaler. In Africa, we're going to be the first location that has, outside of South Africa, it will be the first full cloud deployment of a hyperscaler.
Sometimes in Europe, there's this thing about saying, okay, it's not in our country, but we prefer that it's in Europe.
Yes.
Can we have this position as Morocco with like other North Africa countries or something? Can we use this infrastructure that we're building in Morocco to serve other African countries?
Potentially. But there is work we need to do. Harmonization of regulation is important, and we don't have that yet. It's something that we've been advocating for quite some time. You have a concept called data embassy. What it means is that if we have a data embassy bilateral agreement, as two countries, if I bring my data to you, you treat it as you would treat it with the same respect you would an embassy.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And now we just created the ability to exchange data bilaterally. Okay? Europe doesn't have this problem because you have the European Union. It's the same thing applies across all of Europe. Unfortunately, we don't have that with the rest of Africa. But we have another big complexity with that as well. It's getting much better. There's a new submarine cable that will connect Morocco to the rest of the world, which came online a few weeks back. But we need more diverse connectivity options going south.
Between African countries?
Between inter-African connectivity. And us as Morocco...
So it's continental cables?
Continental cables, yeah. We need more. There are some, but not enough. If you go and look at the submarine cable maps, the problem is evident. Just go look at the map.
Everything is in the north.
Everything is in the north, and you have a few neighboring African countries that have a lot of diversity, and then you have some pockets where there isn't diversity. Right? So if you want to play that game and be a Pan-African provider, you need to be able to have access to diverse connectivity.
What's your vision in terms of, like, for your company, N+ONE, One Cloud, in terms of international expansion? You started, I think, expanding in Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal?
Yeah, we're looking at...
What's your vision? Is it Africa? How are we going to do that?
Well, today we're operating in Morocco. We have 2 campuses in Morocco, and we have the ambition to develop more campuses in Morocco. We opened in Senegal already. we opened our offices there. We're building a facility in Senegal. We're building also another facility in Abidjan. They'll come online early 2027. We have a few customers already lined up. The off-takers that will be taking capacity in those two locations. And we're watching the market. We will go where our customers ask us to go, and we will follow the market. But each market we go into will have its own strategy. There isn't one strategy for Africa. There's a per country strategy.
What would be the differences? It's different kind of needs, or
Yeah, in some countries you might go and be a pure player in hyperscale. In other markets, you're gonna replicate what you have in Morocco: cloud plus enterprise. So every market has its own dynamics.
pure hyperscale is cloud?
Yeah, like as a data center, your customer is the
But
hyperscaler.
you always do infra, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so you, like as a company, you really
Because
diversified.
they're two separate companies.
Okay, but like so, N+ONE
They're complementary.
does infra,
Stops there.
only infra, but also infrastructure as a service,
No.
or everything is infrastructure
No.
as a service.
N+ONE stops at the raised floor, the facility.
Okay, infra, and One Cloud is a
Takes over from there.
It's a hyperscaler business model.
It's a cloud managed cloud service provider model.
Okay.
Okay, so which means you can come to us. You ask me about GPUs.
Yeah,
One Cloud can provide you GPUs.
but
It can provide you an Office 365 subscription. It can provide you a localized version of email. It can provide you with servers, virtual servers, its own, or a hyperscaler's solution. It can make everything talk to each other and integrate it. So the scope is quite diverse. And we are partners with a lot of, we're partners with all the hyperscalers, actually.
so in 2023 or 2024, you received an investment from a fund AIIF
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
90 million investment.
Mhm.
Is it for I think it's for the expansion in Morocco and other countries?
Yes.
Is it specifically for N+ONE or for both company? And what's the strategy for this investment?
The investment is at the group level.
Okay.
And it's there to fuel our growth. One of the things that we do as data centers, we land bank, which means that, let's say you're going to go to Dakar, you might start with 1 megawatt, but you cannot buy land for 1 megawatt and stop there. Because when you build a data center, you have a long-term vision, you're going to be there for a long time, you're going to need land to grow. So you need capital to buy land in which you're going to grow in the future. So primarily for land banking and to also fund the expansion in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire.
Okay.
That's why we raised the capital.
So the capital is for Morocco, Senegal, and Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, and any other locations. We're looking at M&A. We're going to be very smart about how we deploy our capital, but we're looking to grow our footprint and continue serving the region.
Okay, interesting. The biggest trend or driver was AI, and it's still AI. Do you think it will continue to be AI in the next years? Are there other trends that are coming and you're beginning to see them? How is it going to go?
Well, you have to look at the global and local. So globally, obviously, yes, the trend is AI, but cloud also. AI maybe took over in the media, but customers and enterprises are still moving to the cloud.
Right.
So cloud is still as big as it was before. In Morocco, there is AI, obviously, but cloud is a big one. Cloud adoption, where we have a lot of catching up to do. And I think the availability of a cloud provider in Morocco is going to help us leapfrog. And we're seeing it. Before, customers actually went through all the steps. So they start by moving their servers off-prem. Then they ask for some infrastructure as a service, and then potentially move to cloud. Now a customer will jump from being on-prem to full cloud directly, skipping all the other steps. So there's a lot of runway for cloud adoption.
Okay. What would be your advice for an entrepreneur starting a company in Morocco?
What type of advice? There's a lot of dimensions to cover.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe a mistake to avoid.
I think the biggest mistake in entrepreneurship is to do something for financial gain and not purpose. I think that's the most important one. I think purpose is important.
Because it gives you the motivation, the strength, determination to
Absolutely.
go through everything.
Yeah, and it will make you more resilient through the tough times. Yeah. You need to. I think purpose is very important. You gotta know why you're doing entrepreneurship, because sometimes it's a tough road, entrepreneurship.
Why are you doing it?
Purpose.
What's your purpose?
Help my customers actually improve their services. I want to see us with the same level of service availability as we have abroad. There's no reason why we can't. Government services digitalized. When you go to the bank and try to get your money out, it needs to work all the time. Yeah. High availability and so on. But I love problem solving. So a lot of what I do, it starts out with a discussion with the customer that has a problem. In most cases, some of the bricks that we have from data center, cloud, and so on, solve a good chunk of what they have, whether it's availability, whether it's cyber. And then, that's something I've always enjoyed doing, and we have an impact on our customers.
What's a problem you're currently trying to
solve? Planning with everything that's happening with AI.
Yeah,
it's very dynamic. We're getting ready to build a new facility. Mm-hmm. How much planning do we do for AI? How much for enterprise?
50-50 investment, and then it has to serve multiple years.
Yeah, so 50-50, 60% enterprise, 40% AI. So we're trying to size how we should go about it.
Yeah. What do you do outside of work?
Turns out not a lot. At a personal level, I have a lot of hobbies. I'm very hands-on, so I do a lot of fixing around stuff. I tinker with things a lot. Sports, golf.
Is there a book or movie or podcast, something you listened, you read that had like a big impact on you in the last 10 years or 15 years?
Recently, a book that I didn't read, only the title. It said, the title of the book is "What Got You Here Will Not Get You There."
Yeah.
That's it. I read the title, I didn't read the book, I should read it. I have it on my reading list. But that title is a theme right now at the company.
You feel that you have to reinvent yourself to go to the next
Absolutely.
level.
We have to make sure as a company that we understand that what got us here may not get us to the next step, and be really truly aware that we need to remain flexible, we need to adapt, we need to adjust to tackle the next phase of our growth. I mean, we doubled in size in the past couple of years from a human resources perspective.
Do you give some number of employees numbers or revenue levels numbers, or it's not public?
It's not public, but we're about 120 people today.
Okay.
In Morocco. It's still relatively small, but it comes with its own challenges. But we're experiencing high double-digit growth from a business perspective. But yeah, that book or that title at least hit me.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, because it's very easy to keep behaving the same way you were 10, 20, 15 years ago. But what worked then may not work now.
Yeah. Amine Kandil, thank you so much.
Thank
it was really, really interesting and fascinating to understand how everything works, part of what you do works. in the data centers and cloud and everything. And I think we don't talk a lot about this, but it's what is beneath all the tech, software, and everything we're talking about. So it's very, very interesting.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Always good to chat. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup d'avoir écouté cet épisode jusqu'au bout. Si vous avez aimé cet épisode, partagez-le autour de vous, abonnez-vous à la chaîne. Et comme vous le savez, on est sur YouTube, mais aussi sur Spotify et Apple Podcasts. Donc partagez NEXTWAVE autour de vous pour nous aider à faire connaître ces podcasts.